Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. I have got a lovely guest with me today, the wonderful Angela Muresan. Now, she's the founder of a company called BrightBee. If you look at her on LinkedIn, she's known as the girl that talks sustainability in 3 languages. We need to talk about that, Angela. Thank you for joining me, my love.
No, thank you for having me, and thank you so much for your time, and it's so lovely to be on your podcast. I'm super excited. Yes, I do. I actually speak 5.
Blimey.
But not fluently. So 3 I speak fluently, which one is Spanish. I am Spanish, but I'm also half Romanian, so I speak Romanian. My dad is Romanian, my mum is Spanish, and English, of course. But I lived in Italy for a couple of years, so I've learned Italian, and I speak German. I'm not sure if I can now. I haven't practiced it, so that's why I just say 3 languages.
That's amazing. I mean, I can only just about speak 1. You know, I speak English and Yorkshire because that's where I'm from originally. so yeah, that's kind of. I don't think we English, and I might be taking this, saying this, and people will be getting annoyed, but I don't think we British English. You know, we're just not really brilliant at languages. You guys are, you know.
I mean, you speak one. So that's you don't need, I mean, yeah, it's nice to speak multiple languages, but sometimes it can be so hard, especially when I'm tired. I don't even know what language I speak anymore. If you ask, I might be answering no, like I'll just mix them up, and it happens quite a lot.
Bless you. I didn't realise that you're kind of Romanian mix as well. Fantastic. Love it. So give me a little bit of your background. You are such an influencer on social media. You've kind of, you came to our attention, as Full Circle, my business, a little while ago, because kind of Michelle, who does all of the digital content, was kind of like, oh, this woman, you should see what she's doing. And obviously we met a few months ago, didn't we, at a grid serve event, which was fantastic. But can you give us a little bit of your background about what you were doing and what you're doing now?
Oh, thank you so much. I don't really think I'm an influencer. I am just a person that loves what they're doing, and I love to share what I'm learning about sustainability and electric cars on my videos. And I just, it's been really good. But no, appreciate that. I'll take it. My background is quite diverse. So when I started working in the space, I used to work, well, industry-wise, it was still sustainability in a way, but it was working in the rail industry for years, and that was really, it was hard. It was really hard, challenging. I didn't have much knowledge about the space, but then I've learned it and fell in love with it, and then naturally transitioned into automotive, mobility as a service, and then EV charging, probably for the last, must be about 6 years now.
Oh, wow. So, and just explain, can you, about what do you support businesses with?
It's more supporting businesses, startups and scale-ups to take their brand out there, teaching people what they're doing, supporting with their expansion, building up partnerships management and marketing, like personal branding, corporate branding, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. And you're also a brand ambassador for Green Sports Alliance, aren't you?
Yeah, so I think their work is amazing and what they do, and they're very well known in the US, working with very big leagues like the NFL, NBA, PGA, all those. Their work is incredible, and what they do is making sports sustainable, and that's not just the actual game, but also how people commute to these venues, how stadiums are built, looking at the energy consumption, water, noise, and do they have EV charging points on site, things like that. So much more than just the actual game. And now they are expanding into Europe. They are already working with like FIFA, Barcelona, the football club.
Okay.
I don't really know. Uh, yeah, they're doing some really good work in the Europe as well, and now expanding into UK. And I've been supporting them with that. But yeah, I think they're brilliant. So I think if anyone is interested in sports and sustainability, they should definitely reach out to them.
So what actually started you with your own kind of interest in sustainability then? What was it that kind of led you to kind of think, oh, actually, this is something that I want to get involved in?
I think sustainability has always been part of my lifestyle. And looking back, there's so many things I used to do with my mum when I was younger. We used to create our own Christmas decorations, and we used to reuse like all sorts of things to create. For example, like plastic bottles. You know, you have them, you can't fully get rid of
Mm.
them. So we use them and have like make them plant pots or things like that. So sustainability has always been part of my life, one way or another. And then when I moved to England and started working in the automotive railways space, I just fell in love with it. And it's so complex, and there's so much more to learn about it. That's what intrigued me to kind of get into that and learn more and pick and choose different projects and just expand on that. And that's how it all started. And people are so nice as well.
They are.
Which
They are lovely. Would you, so just going back a second, so you were just saying that you did all the kind of the sustainability stuff with your mum. Was any of the did you have any influence from school kind of before, during that time, or was it just your mum and you that were kind of doing all of this?
I don't know if it, I think, yes, we did, but it wasn't because of sustainability. I think it was just things my mum learned from her mum and my grandma learned from her mum, and it just kind of thing we used to do. And at school, it was normal to use like plastic cans or things like that to play music or use to create different things. And I think it wasn't because of sustainability. It was more just a lifestyle that we do. It was just something that I don't know if it's a Spanish thing. I'm not
I don't
sure,
know.
but yeah, I didn't really know about climate change or sustainability back then. I was way too young to really understand that, and it wasn't really mentioned. And I don't think even nowadays I don't think it's talked about it enough. But yeah, I've definitely there's some things that we don't realize that we used to do in our day-to-day lives that were sustainable, and now looking back it actually makes sense.
Absolutely. And you're right. The whole thing about climate change, people kind of shy away from a bit. You probably know that I'm married to a professor of climate science, so we've kind of it's been part of my life since I've been with him, and we met in 1999. So it's been one of those things, and we kind of, ever since we got married, things have changed, and although in some ways people have changed, they've changed a little bit about with their attitude to climate and kind of the acceptance, because there was at one point where Rich used to have more grief from trolls,
Yeah.
saying that it was a load of crap. But that seems to have changed. So what are your thoughts on? Like I say, that I do feel that people still shy away from it. What are your thoughts on kind of getting people to recognise that it is a thing, and we actually all need to do something about it?
Yeah, I think we do. And but also we, us and businesses, we need to support that, and create ways where for being sustainable should just be a lifestyle. You shouldn't have to think too much about it. And when you go shopping, fruits and vegetables, should be out of the packaging or things like that. And the mug you're using, the coffee you're buying, that should just be sustainable. But yeah, it's really hard. And even nowadays, I still get people messaging me privately, just saying, I've had people saying I'm selfish because I drive an electric car, and just really nasty things. I think it happens, but also I've had people supporting me and being like, amazing, keep doing what you're doing. And with anything in life, you're just going to have people that will support you and people that don't. And what we can do is just keep doing what we're doing and encourage more people to
Yeah.
join. I think it's going to take a while to get to the point where we can have a fully like net zero lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Zero.
That's awful if you've had people talking, saying these negative things to you. I mean, we've got a YouTube channel that this podcast goes out on, and we've been putting lots of YouTube shorts out lately. We are getting a lot more negative kind of comments, not necessarily from the UK either, because it seems to be pushed out across the States and places like that. And there does seem to be quite a lot of negativity. We've been called, I had some women on a few months ago who work in EV, and we were called a bunch of Karens, which I kind of thought was funny in a way, but oh,
Yep.
I've been called a communist as well. So, there's just, yeah, the people have their own thinking and about this, and I don't know how long it's going to take us to move away from it all.
I think is the education side of it. As soon as you mention sustainability, zero waste, people start thinking that you're just going to live in a tree and then just eat just plant, you know, stuff like that. And it's not that. And I'm sure we all do stuff at home that is sustainable, and perhaps we don't even realize it.
Mm.
And a zero waste lifestyle is, it's not that hard. It's really simple. It's just learning how to reuse things that can save you also time, money. It's fun, things that you can do with your family. So it's not that hard, but it's just the educational side. It's just putting the messages out there. And I think what you're doing is great, is sharing knowledge. And even if you do get, bad interaction from people, it's fine. You always get that. You're always going to get that. No matter how good you're doing, you're always going to have people trolling on you. It's just kind of just keep doing what you're doing, and the right people will understand and
Yeah.
will learn them.
Hopefully, eventually, at least at some point. We're not quite sure when that transition will change from. There'll always be people who will say these things as well, isn't that? Won't there be? I would like to talk about. So you did you kind of, there was a brainchild that you were working on called Race to Zero, wasn't there? This was your
Yeah,
brainchild. Now, I really was
yeah.
hoping to actually kind of attend the last bit of it, but were you working on Race to Zero with it? Was it with Green Sports Alliance as well?
So when I started Race Zero, which was last year, actually, it was after the London EV show. I think it was a Wednesday in the morning, and I just random thought, after attending so many networking events, I felt exhausted and I wanted to do something a bit different. And I had this random thought: why don't I do a race? I love sports, I love sustainability, and I love networking, and I wanted to create something that will integrate all of them in one. And I remember I messaged John Curtis, and I said, "Oh, what do you think of this idea?" And he said, "Oh, I think it's crazy. I love it." And that was it. And that's how it all started. I didn't have an idea of how I was going to do it. I've never organized an event before. I didn't have a team to do it with. I didn't have any money to invest into that. And a few months down the line, I started talking to people, talking to Green Sports Alliance and Felton, Grid Serve, and they were all so supportive. That made me think, okay, now I have to do this. I have to make it happen somehow. So yeah, Green Sports Alliance have supported me all the way, as well as Grid Serve, Felton, and so many other people. And yeah, it's been such a challenge, but it's probably my biggest project today, and I am so proud of what I've done. And now I love it. I want to do it again, and there's going to be a next Race to
Is that
Zero.
so? Explain what Race to Zero is for those that haven't actually heard of it or seen it, because it was up on social media quite a bit, wasn't it? But what was the idea about it then?
Um, so with Race to Zero, it was I wanted to create something that's a bit different than all the other networking events out there. I wanted to give an opportunity to perhaps people that don't enjoy networking as much, and make them feel a bit more comfortable to put themselves out there and network with people and just build that confidence. And I wanted to create something that's a bit more fun and engaging. And, at the end of the day, when you go home, you feel good, you don't feel exhausted, you don't feel like, oh my God, I've just been walking around talking to 100 people all day, which is great,
Mm.
but it can be tiring sometimes. And that's how it all started. And also my passion for racing and sports. I did that for myself in a way. But it was incredible, and I enjoyed it. So many people have turned up, so many people have supported me on this mission. I honestly, it felt incredible. I didn't expect it. I thought people would just think I'm crazy and just, not be there for me. But it's been incredible. So we had an actual race that we filmed, like a Top Gear style episode. We had somebody cycling, we had someone driving an electric car, a conversion, and then somebody taking public transport. It was a 60-mile journey to find was the cheapest, the fastest, and the most sustainable way of travel. So that was all the way from London Bridge to Gritserve, Braintree, and it was such an amazing day, filming everybody and just seeing how the stress they were trying to race and be the first ones. It was super fun to watch, and then the networking event as well. It was incredible. I think we had a few, close to 200 people turning up on the day, which I didn't expect. It was really good, and everybody was engaging and talking, and it was really good.
So the three contestants. So I know, definitely the one who was doing the public, going on public transport. That was Sarah Sloman, wasn't it? And then you had the cyclist. Who, remind me who the cyclist was?
Chris Kirby from Tomorrow's Journey.
And you had who was in the Mini?
Paul Swinney. He was driving from Gritserve. He was driving the Felton, the Mini, the classic Mini converted into electric, which was really nice.
That did look very cool, I have to say.
It was so cool to have that car, and thank you to Felton, who have supported me with this mission and providing us with the cars. And also we had the classic Porsche, the 911. They've converted into electric, and the Mini at the networking event on display for people to see, which is really cool.
Oh, fantastic! So you like you say, you had Sarah, buses and trains. Was it most? She was.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've so all the way from London to Braintree. If I look back, so she had to take the bus, the train, and then we used the what was my mind just slipped. I can't remember the name of the company now. It's an Essex service. I should have probably. Can we edit that out?
Yeah. Do you want me to check? To check?
Yeah, it was.
What is it? An Essex electric vehicle type taxi thing?
Yeah, so it's like it's a bus servicing where you can pre-book and it comes and picks you up, and I've used it myself. And the name just skipped.
Hang on, there is a.
It's a DigiGo.
It's what?
DigiGo.
Right. Okay. So we'll start. Do you want to just add that little bit in then? So, and the bus was.
Yeah, so of course Sarah Sloman had to use the bus, trains, and from Braintree she's used the DigiGo services, which is a great platform. I don't know if you know, but in Braintree there's no Uber, and I didn't know that either. But you have DigiGo, so what you do, you have an app where you can book a bus. It's all electric, and it comes and picks you up. It comes to you, picks you up, and it takes you anywhere you want to go. And it only costs £2, I think. Every journey is £2 anywhere you go.
Oh God, that's really cheap. That's really good. So we probably need more of those, don't we? Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're always fully booked. They're so busy. They're doing extremely well. But I think we need more of that. We need that everywhere.
I think you're right. So that was Sarah's journey, and Chris. Oh my God, Chris on the bike looked like I really couldn't have done 60 miles. I could probably not do 6 miles on a bike, never mind 60. But that looked a bit intense for him.
To be honest, he actually came up with the idea. So before I started Race to Zero, I met up with Chris, and I've mentioned what I want to do, and I wasn't going to do it from London to Braintree. I was going to do something a bit shorter for the cyclist. And then he mentioned, oh, why don't you do it from London to Braintree? That's going to be a challenge, and I'll cycle. So he actually came up with the idea and offered to cycle.
Oh my God. Well, so what in the end? So you had the guy in the Felton Minute. I can't remember who came first, who came second, because you did different first there, didn't you? And then you did who was the most sustainable as well, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so the race, it wasn't just a race of like the first one gets their wins. It was more about efficiency, costs, and all that. So we've added all the points together. So the winner, of course, was Sarah Sloman.
Of course.
I think with 1 points, if I remember right. The second runner-up was Paul Swenny from Grid Serve, and third Chris Kirby. He lost a few points. We did a fun thing. If you stopped for a wee, we deduct points. So he stopped one too many times, and it's probably the reason why he lost. But of course, he was the most sustainable
Out of all of them,
to
yeah.
out of all. But overall, adding all the points, he came third.
I mean, not everybody's that fit to be able to do that kind of journey, but it's brilliant that he
Honestly,
did.
I didn't expect it. I didn't expect people. I didn't expect him to offer to do that as well. And I was so, because I thought I would struggle to find somebody to cycle, and actually no, it wasn't. He was the first one to stand out and be like, I will do it. So yeah, big shout out to Chris. He's
Well
amazing.
done. And actually finishing at the Grid Serve electric forecourt, which I've been to, and it's lovely. It's just a really innovative and an interesting place. The things that they do with kind of like getting the recycling rainwater and things like that, don't they? And the kind of the solar canopies and even just inside the things that they offer, it just kind of it blew my mind when I went last year. And I didn't even have an EV then. I just went as a petrol driver to see what it was like, actually, because that's around the time I was looking for an EV anyway. But yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
place, isn't it?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I went there last year, about year and a half ago, and I fell in love. I've never seen anything like it before. And when I turned up, I looked around and I was like, wow, okay, this is cool. Only the outside. And then I went inside and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then I've seen they have showers, they have
Yeah,
meeting
like
rooms.
I didn't know
I
the showers. No,
Yeah, oh, they're really nice showers as well. I mean, it is incredible, and it smells so nice as well.
it does. I love the gym. They have gym equipment as well, don't they? So kind of was it
Yeah,
treadmills and stuff? But they've definitely got a bit of gym.
bike.
Yes.
Yeah, they have. I think they have a couple of bikes, and the energy you produce for cycling goes back to the grid, I
Oh,
believe.
wow. You see, even that, and like I say, the meeting rooms and kind of just the areas to sort of sit and buy a few bits and bobs from. I think if they got a Costa downstairs and a Marks and Spencer's.
Yes, yes, they do. I think it's a Smith or an M&S. I'm not sure. And then they have the Costa. It's brilliant. I mean, you can be there for hours. You can be there for 10 minutes. It's actually quite nice. And I spent so much time there, especially with Race to Zero, planning Race to Zero. I felt like I was working there. I
Absolutely.
was there, and yeah, it was really good. Very comfortable as well. I was there for hours and hours. So yeah, it's been incredible. I think they definitely stand out to me.
Yeah, definitely. And Amanda Armitage at Grid Serve is just so absolutely lovely, isn't she? And I know that she's
Amazing. I absolutely love Amanda. She's helped me so much with the event, planning the event, and I am so grateful to her. I remember it was weekends, 10 o'clock at night, we would be texting each other, planning, calling people, and she didn't have to do that, but she did, and that made the event possible. I don't think I could have done it without her.
no, she's absolutely brilliant. And before we started recording, because I'd like to kind of open this out a little bit, we were talking about, so written Race to Zero, the event itself, the day itself was, like you said, it was a networking event, and we kind of talked about
Yeah.
the fact that networking for some people is difficult. It's not, it's kind of one of those things. I've been networking on and off since kind of like the mid to late 90s, And actually, I kind of said to you, didn't I, as I got older, and especially after having my son, I found it, my confidence levels dropped quite a bit. So I did find networking, especially when you're self-employed, networking was quite daunting. And you were talking about you're more of an introvert, aren't you? I'd say I'm a bit of an extrovert introvert, but it's not easy for everybody, is it?
No, I can be an extrovert when I have to be for a few hours, but then I get so exhausted at the end of the day. It can be really hard, especially you never know what kind of reaction you're going to get from the other person when you turn up to them. And it's hard. You have to say the same things, and sometimes you can be told no, and you lose more of that confidence. In my experience, especially working in sales and recruitment, I had a lot of negative feedback, comments from people. Whenever I used to turn up, they'll be like, "No, I'm not interested," and it was like, "No, no, no, no."
Mm,
It made it cool, and yeah, it's hard, and I wanted to create something that's a bit more relaxed, and people actually want to talk to each other and collaborate rather than I'm going to turn up, I'm going to start a chat with you and to sell you something. I think that is also, I see that happening quite a lot, and it's not the way forward. I think networking should be a way to meet people and build relationships and learn about new products and technologies and utilize that and then take it from there rather than go to a networking event and I'm going to start selling you
yeah,
something.
I totally agree. The times that, because I think I'm quite good at networking. I don't mean to do it that I'm not very good at doing it for myself. I'm good at doing it for other people. I'm great at linking other people up because the way my brain works, I kind of go, oh, I'm talking to this person. Oh, you need to talk to that person. I've always done that. I've always kind of gone, sort of, I can see, I'm not trying to say I'm a matchmaker, but I like building relationships with people,
Yeah.
Wouldn't say I'm not particularly a salesperson, as it were. But yeah, the relationship building thing I find quite easy. In fact, I was at an event a couple of months ago and I introduced somebody to Sam Clark, and he was kind of he from EV Cafe and Gridserve, and he was kind of I kind of introduced this guy because he was kind of stood, and I just thought, oh, do you know, I don't like having people just stood because especially when they're on their own, because nobody wants to be on their
Yeah.
own at an event, do they? So I kind of introduced
Yeah.
him, and I kind of saw Sam's face, and I was like, and he actually said, oh, you're quite good at this networking thing, not quite like that, but actually, it made me think again. Even though I find it a little bit difficult at networking to put
Yeah.
yourself out there, because I'm sure there's lots of people like me and you that feel like that. You
Oh,
have to kind of get over that sort of that imposter syndrome, don't you? It's very
exactly.
difficult to actually go and talk to people that you don't know.
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest sell. Trying to sell your services and your experience is a lot harder than selling a product or someone else's experience. I think, and that's just a confidence thing that I'm working on myself still.
Mm.
I still sometimes I try and over explain myself just because I feel like I have to when we shouldn't. But I think that's just practice. It just takes practice, and you just have to keep on trying and trying. And not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. The right people that you need are going to be there for you.
Yeah, and like you say, it isn't just about that kind of that I don't want to say archaic way of thinking about sales, but in some ways it is, because to me networking isn't is about the relationship rather than selling something. That
Yeah,
I would never ever want anybody to think that I was that kind of pushy, excuse my French, everybody listening and watching, pushy northern gobshite.
yeah,
That I don't want anybody to think that, because that's not who I am, you know.
yeah.
But you do think
People
that.
will buy, and the only way they do that is by getting to know you, to understand how you think, your mission, and that you're doing what you're doing. And if they believe in you and your mission, they will work with you. And I think that's so important, and the reason why you should be putting yourself out there more. And just keep on trying. Define networking, define sales. What is sales? Is it just picking up the phones? No, sales is putting yourself out there, taking that video, posting that video with your network, let them to get to know you on more like personal level as well. That's also sales. It's not just content, not just marketing. It all works hand in hand.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose building up these podcast episodes, hopefully those that are listening have been watching, or for a while, or if they haven't, or they're just watching because they're watching you. Hopefully they kind of recognise that both of us, are actually we're trustworthy people. We're not full of crap. We actually do give a monkeys about stuff, and actually I think that is hopefully a good place to be. I mean, I've never discussed really on this podcast what Full Circle does, which is my business. I'm happy to talk to you and whoever about what they do. It's about kind of, if people are interested, they can of course look at the website, but that's not the reason why I wanted to start this podcast up in the first place. It was to meet people like yourself.
It's building those, getting to know people, building your network and learning new products, and it's fun as well. It's so good to talk to people, especially in a world where we all work from home.
Yeah,
very rarely get to go outside and meet people and actually have a conversation. It's nice to do this sort of things.
I mean, just to let everybody know, before we started recording, we were talking for about an hour and a half, weren't we? And it was great. Yes. It's been absolutely brilliant because, like I say, I always use the pre-recorded bit, or as in the bit I don't record, to develop those relationships, because it's really important to do so, because, actually it means that these episodes flow much easier. And I've always wanted this just to be a chat that people can listen to. And yeah, there'll be those that kind of go, turn this off, whatever. Hopefully most people will say, right, actually I'm interested about what both Liz has got to say and Angela's got to say, or whoever I'm interviewing or speaking to.
Yeah, no, exactly. But no, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to kind of share my experiences and what I've learned, from driving electric, and much more than that, but from driving electric for the last, I think it's about 4-5 years now. And yeah, I've been through so many things, and I've experienced a lot of things that I'd love to kind of share a bit more about, and information that I've learned that helped me. Perhaps it might help someone else.
Let's chat about that. So what's your first EV been? What's your EV journey been? What have you driven? You've driven lots of different EVs, haven't you?
I have, but my first one, and it was my baby, and I still absolutely love that car to this day. It was my E208.
Hang on, it's gone off again. Oh yeah, you're back.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. So it was so you had an E208.
The E208, it was blue. It was really nice blue, and I got it through Onto, who were a subscription platform. It was like a monthly rolling contract, and it came with it was all inclusive with insurance and charge and all that sort of thing, which really incentivized me to go with them. I've never had a charger, so I only relied on public charging. So having free charge through them, it really saved me a lot of money there. But yeah, I absolutely love that car. It was a tiny. I don't know if you know the E208, if you've seen it or driven
seen
one.
it. I've not driven one.
Oh, it's so nippy, so sporty, and so small at the same time. I absolutely love it. I had it for a year, and then I switched to another one, a newer model, still an E208, bright yellow, and that's how I came up with BrightBee after that car.
Did you? Love it.
Yeah. Yes, I used to turn up to events, and people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, you're the car lady. How's the car doing? How's Bumblebee doing?" They used to call my car Bumblebee. thought, oh, I might just call my company BrightBee.
I like that.
Started, but yeah, I absolutely loved it. Perhaps not the best car when it comes to range, but for what I was doing, it worked out perfectly. And I had that car for about 3 years. Um, and then I've test driven all sorts of different other ones on the side, like the Polestar 2, and the dual motor one, single motor one as well, Tesla, Mercedes, and all sorts of different cars. They're all brilliant, but the E2A is still my favorite.
So what was the range on the 208 then, the one that you kept for 3 years?
Well, realistically, winter time, I'd probably say 140, 150, realistically, and how I drive. So I like to have music, and I'm going to have my heating on. I am not going to compromise on that. Because you're switching to an electric car, I don't think you should compromise on the things. So 150, and I'm not the most. I am a responsible driver, but I do like to drive. So range-wise, 150. Summer, about 180, I'd say. It's not a lot, but it's for what I was doing, it was perfect. And I used to drive a lot. I used to easily do 400 or 500 miles a week. Even for work, I live in Milton Keynes, and I used to work in Kent, and that was about miles. So I used to drive there and back a lot in that car. But I think I got so used to it. It was just, it didn't really matter to me. It was easy.
I suppose that the range on that is probably very similar to our Ionic, which has only got a small, like 38.5 kilowatt hour battery. It's efficient, but we kind of, in the winter, we probably get like 165 miles, 150, 165, and then we get about the 200.
Yeah.
So you do have to learn to. I know you said before, didn't you? You're not a planner, whereas I'm a planner. I have to plan. You don't plan. You've done massive journeys and you don't plan, which kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, I never planned anything. I'm an organized mess. I know what I'm doing. I know where everything is. It's a pile of papers, or I just like to go with it. Life is too busy to stop thinking about that, and I want to simplify my life. And I just try and make it as simple as possible. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. I've gone down to 1 mile way too many times.
No.
And if you
Oh no, I'd be anxious. I'd be so anxious.
so many times, I got so used to doing that. And if you speak to the lovely Georgia Fox, she will tell you, anytime she call me, I'll be like, I'm on my way to find a charger. I have 2 miles left. It happened so many times. I've even gone down to 0, and I can confirm nothing happened.
Not then.
Not then. But yeah, I think you still get like a few extra miles, even if it gets down to 0.
I got to 12. I think I got to 12, and I was home by then. But I knew I knew I'd have around between kind of 5 and 12 miles left when I got home, so I was all right with that. But if I'd have got down to 1, I'd have totally had the heebie-jeebies about that one.
I think there was a time where I got really scared. I had 1 mile left, and I turned up to a charging point, and it didn't work. And I was like, "Oh my God, now!"
God, yeah.
But I've learned to play with the region braking.
Yes.
Also, what I used to do, this is like tips and tricks. I don't even know if it's right but it worked. When I was driving on the motorways, whenever I would get stuck in traffic, I'd put my heating on, music loud, enjoy my time, and when I would drive, I would turn everything off to save battery, and the other way around, and just play with it like that. In the winter time when it was cold, and then the regen braking.
Yeah, I love regen. It's just it's that for people who don't drive electric cars. I actually wrote a newsletter about this recently because so my nephew, I was talking to you about my nephew Adam before we started recording, and Adam actually took out he's got a Range Rover, and it was in for repair or service or something, and the company gave him an I-Pace, but he drove it like a petrol, so he got motion sickness. and he didn't like
Oh
it,
no.
so actually that was he kind of is. I've tried to talk to him about, right, okay, you were using it as if you're taking your foot off to change gear, when actually you need to be more feather light on the accelerator because the regen will kick in. If you take your, you know what it's like, Angela, and anybody who is already driving an EV knows this. If you take your foot right off the accelerator on an EV, depending on what kind of level you've set for the regen, you can go from fast to like 10 mile an hour or whatever really, really quickly, as if.
And I think, sorry, I think that's an educational side as well. I didn't know about it before. I didn't know you have different
Mm,
levels of regen. And then it was, I think, on level 3, which is the quickest, the
strongest,
hardest.
yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't know that, and I was driving on the motorway, which can be very dangerous. So especially if you're driving on icy
yeah,
roads or things
yeah.
like that. But I think, yeah, perhaps I think we need to educate people more on that side.
Absolutely, because it's fantastic when you use it properly. But if, and I've talked about this with dealerships and leasing companies and people who are putting, not just anybody who has to have a courtesy car. If they're handed an EV and they've got a petrol or a diesel, they have to go through that proper handover, because otherwise you've got people like my nephew who are saying, I really don't like it, it gave me motion sickness, because they didn't explain, right, okay, this is what one pedal driving's all about. It's that
Yeah,
totally about education, isn't it?
yeah. When I've heard one pedal driving, this was many, many years ago. I was like, one pedal drive. What does that mean? How does that even
Mm,
work? And I was with someone in the car, and I asked the question, "But how do you brake?" That's a crazy question. Yeah, that's a. But you do have to ask. There's no wrong
absolutely. You
questions.
don't know what you don't know.
I pedal drive. How do you control it?
Mm,
And then I'll at it, and it made sense. It's actually much easier than it sounds.
yeah, seriously. If you've never driven an EV, you do not know what you do not know until you get in. So unless you've been given that level of education, you still don't know. You sat in that car, whether you've got it for an hour, 2 hours, 10 days, however long. You need to have that, because actually we are, I feel really strongly about this when we go for wider, as we are trying to go for wider EV adoption. The education piece is so important, because we can't just take for granted that everybody's going to get it, can we?
Yeah. And there's so many things, and even that I work in the sector, I still don't know so many things, and sometimes I feel like, oh, this question sounds a bit crazy, maybe I shouldn't ask, because people expect me to know already the answers because I work in the sector. And no, I'm still learning myself. There's just so many new things coming out, and if you don't know something, just ask.
Absolutely. But it's kind of, it's about the people who don't tend to research or probably wouldn't ask, because there are a lot of
Yeah,
them. Some of them men, some of them are men. I'm not just saying that because, I don't mean that to be awful, but some men won't ask. They won't ask for directions,
yeah,
never mind to ask about EVs. All the experiences that you've had in the different EVs, and you've kind of, the one thing I was going to talk to you about was your journey to Spain with your cat
yes,
Fluffy, because it made me smile so much. Because, like I said to you before we started recording, if our cat was still around now, if I took her in the car, she usually knew that she was going to go to the vets and she hated the car. So what was you were you drove to Spain, you took your cat. Why? Tell us.
yeah. I know. I mean, it was another crazy idea of mine. I sometimes come up with crazy ideas, and I'm like, I'll just go with it and just see what happens. So I've had Fluffy. I love him. He's my baby for 8 years now, and I travel so much with work. I'm never at home. I'm at home maybe one day a week, if sometimes. So I just felt really guilty just leaving him alone all the time. So I've decided, oh, I'm gonna take him to Spain to my mum, so then he's got somebody there like 24/7 pretty much. And I was going to fly initially, which is, makes sense, easier, quicker.
Not as
And I was
sustainable though.
yes, I know it's sometimes, especially when it comes to things like this, you can't really control it.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to Amanda from GritServe, and she mentioned, why don't you drive there? We'll give you a car. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And that's how we all started. And honestly, I absolutely love it. And if I had the opportunity to do it again, 100%, I would leave tomorrow. It was such an experience. I had so much fun, and it really felt like a holiday. It didn't feel like I was driving, or it didn't feel hard. I've seen so many things. I've experienced. I went out. I had fun. It was a proper road trip.
So you were going from Milton Keynes to Spain. What car
Yes,
were you in?
the EQA, Mercedes EQA.
Nice.
I
Nice.
absolutely love that car. It was amazing, insane, and honestly, it looks great as well. And I've turned so many heads in that car. I've never turned so many heads in my life, but in that car, everybody was looking and turning around and kept looking as I was driving past. It was really nice.
So what's the range on the EQA then?
Realistically, I would say about 250.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is more than enough. It does say it gives you more, but
Mm.
again, I don't like to compromise. So I'm going to have my aircon on, I'm going to have my music on, I'm going to have everything on. And yeah, realistically, it would give me about 250, which worked out perfectly for me. And because I know a lot of people say, and I've had people coming up to me as I was charging at different charging points in like France and Spain, and they'll ask me questions like, "Oh, you probably have too much time, to stay here and charge, and oh, why don't you go back to petrol? We'll give you 500 miles and things like that. And how much does it cost? It's so expensive." Which is good. I like people coming up to me and asking me those questions, because then I can
Mm.
answer and give them my honest opinion. And yes, perhaps a petrol car will give you 500 miles, but how many times can you even drive that long? Like, you would have to stop
Really?
at least once. I mean, your bladder probably wouldn't be able to do it.
I
Um,
wouldn't, I can tell you that.
and even if you did, you would probably feel exhausted at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's dangerous.
And it's really dangerous. Like, you shouldn't be driving more than 2 hours, anyways. And that was one of the things I loved about the car. Sometimes driving was so easy. I was just cruising, and I'd forget to stop. And I would have a message pop up to say, "Oh, you've been driving for too long. You need to take a break."
Oh, I
No,
like that intuitivity, is that a word? The fact that the
yeah,
intuitive nature of that
yeah,
is really good, isn't it? So what did you use? So I know you didn't use that map, did you? You used other apps. Did you use Google? What were you using to actually
yeah.
find the chargers when you needed them?
Well, in the UK, I didn't really have to use anything. I've used the GritServe charging points, which is, no-brainer, is easy. You know where they are on the motorways. Every service station would have a GritServe charging
Mm,
point.
mm.
So I've used them. But as soon as I got into France and Spain, I've used the Plaque Surfing app. Like you said earlier, I've mentioned I don't plan things. I haven't planned the journey at all. It was so, everything happened so quick. Like, today I got the car and tomorrow I left.
Oh my God.
I didn't really have time to plan anything.
Mm, mm.
So I've used the Plaque Surfing app, which saved my life, to plan the route, but also to pay. It works really well offline as well. Once it's loaded, I've learned how to use that. So there's some settings you can play with. So you can use offline maps, which I think you should. And yeah, it's been really good.
Because I said she didn't, and before we started recording that actually we are going to Brittany in the next couple of weeks,
Yes.
and I have now got a plug surfing card and the app. So I think we'll probably use that with the Octopus Electroverse as well. So we've got both. We can kind of use those. So that'll be really, really interesting to see that network working. Or it's not a network, is it? It's kind of an RFID.
Yeah, it's all in one.
Yeah.
You can use it to plan your route. You can use it to pay. It's really good. It's really really helpful, especially if somebody that like me that doesn't like planning, and I hate having too many apps. You know, one app for this charging point, one app for that charging point. This simplifies it all. I haven't used any other apps in France or Spain to pay for charge. So they have, I think they have over 200,000 charging
Wow.
points on their platform. They probably have more now. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really good. And also you can use the card, but you can also use the phone to pay. So you can use the app directly or the card.
Which makes a difference, doesn't it? So how
Oh
many
yeah.
times did you have to charge? How long were you driving? How many days did it take you to get there? And how many times did you have to charge?
So I've done two different ways. On the way there, I've wanted to experience, like people say, oh, my car gives me 500 miles. So I try to drive as much as I can without stopping. So on the way in, yes, I got to my destination quicker. I used to drive 3 hours, stop for like 30 minutes to fully charge, and then like that all the way to Spain. So it took me so first day I got into France, and then I stopped for the night because I wasn't too sure with Fluffy and how he would feel about driving so much. But
Mm.
then the next day we drove 28 hours pretty much
Oh my
straight.
God.
And we only stopped to charge, and that was it. I got to my destination quicker, but I felt exhausted. I felt like I was drunk. And then the next
I'm
day I felt like,
surprised.
yeah, I felt dizzy and my eyes were red, and I didn't even have time to spend with my family. I wasn't feeling in the mood to stay with my family and chat with them. I just slept for 2 days
Oh wow.
straight.
Oh,
So that was hard. But I wanted to experience what people say. Oh, I can do 500 miles in my car. Honestly, I would never do that again. And on the way back, I've actually used the route planner and I've done it as they planned it for me. And I stopped every hour and a half to 2 hours for a quick top up. So it takes only 15 to 20 minutes if to top up
mm.
in really nice locations. I used to go for a walk. One of the days I went for a swim in the ocean was really nice. I think it took me 4 hours longer to get to my
Wow.
destination back. But I
Yeah.
felt good when I got home. I felt nice. The next day, I
Mm.
woke up at 7 o'clock in the
Refreshed.
morning and I was fresh. So it
Yeah.
really made a difference. And that's yeah, stopping is not. You can't drive so long for so many days. It's just too much. And that's
Mm.
why when buying an electric car, you don't need one that gives you 600 miles of range because you're never going to use that much.
Exactly. I totally agree. And yeah, like you say, anybody who says that they can drive that and be okay. And there's one person who is currently standing for a specific party in the general election who says that he can drive
Uh,
500 miles. You know who I'm talking about?
yeah.
I don't know whether I believe that. And actually, maybe he needs to sleep for 2 days afterwards.
Yeah, I don't think he's the one driving. Probably.
Yeah, maybe if he's got a driver, then you might be right. You might be
Yeah.
right.
Um, but yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, I would never do that again. And I think taking your time and why do we need to rush? Is everything we do nowadays is always rush to get there quicker, to be first, to just. And this is what I like about Spanish people is just
Chilled.
chill, just take it easy, just enjoy it, take it all in, and spend some time in nature, and just have fun. And driving electric that made it so much more fun for me, and I've seen so many beautiful places, and very fortunate to have had that opportunity.
So which one was have there been any other experiences that you've had that have kind of stood out, or are these the experience? Are you planning new experiences which are kind of going to be like, wow? I can imagine you
Yes.
are.
Oh, I have some ideas, always, crazy ideas. But I've learned so much. So I remember driving into Spain on my way in. Everything was so new. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. It was a bit daunting sometimes. And I've never driven in Europe before. I mean, I've
Mm,
driven on holiday like 5 miles down the road, but that's it. But I've never driven a UK car in Europe electric. So I didn't know what to expect. The funniest thing was probably I didn't know you have to pay for the motorways
right.
in France.
Yeah.
So that was I was like I turned up to one. I was like, what do I do? I didn't know, and I had to keep getting in and out of the car because the point was
Oh,
on the other side, so you have
oh
to get
no.
out.
Yes.
So that was fun, but I'm a pro now. I
Good
know
on
what to
you.
do. So that was interesting. Also very expensive. I didn't expect it. Um,
Mm,
Paying for the motorways in France. I don't
it's
know
not
if you've seen
cheap.
it. No,
Yeah.
it feels like a luxury. And I kept saying like, "Oh, these roads are so empty. I wonder why." Then I realized why. And then in Spain, streets are so small. I didn't expect it driving that big car around the streets of Spain, and charging points are not as easy to find. I think because they're all so new, Google Maps wouldn't recognize them, and I got lost way too many times.
Did you?
At one point, I ended up under a bridge, and I just didn't know what to do anymore. I couldn't turn around because it was only one. It was a one-way
Oh
street.
no.
I didn't know what to do, and but in the end, I just had to risk it and just went. And it took me over an hour to find a charging point that was within 3 kilometers from me. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to get to that. There were so many roads, and that was pretty interesting. But then on the way back, I knew what to expect. I knew how to plan it. I've downloaded offline maps and prepared myself a little bit better. And this is what I mean about preparation. I don't prepare. It's possible without any preparation, but of course, it does help when you prepare, and made my journey so much easier, more pleasant, and I had so much fun as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's many things I want to do now. I've done it now. We 4,000 kilometers, no, 5,000 kilometers in Europe, electric,
Wow.
in a week. So now I want to take it to the next level. I'd love to do maybe go around Europe, and why not even around the world?
That'd be amazing. It would be. It'd be lovely to see you kind of doing that. And I did see the video of you down by that bridge. I think you did a video talking about
Yes.
that, didn't you? And I was just like, oh my God, that looks so scary. So yeah, but the stuff you're doing just to kind of get the word out about what you can do in electric vehicles is absolutely fantastic. So let's finish off by giving some contact details, how people can find you. Where's the best place for people to be able to find you if they're interested in working with you?
Well, LinkedIn is my main platform, of course, but I also use Instagram, and I share a lot of stuff on YouTube if anybody wants to follow that. It's all very new, so I don't have many followers. So I would really appreciate you following me. But I think one thing I'd like to say about my experience and what I've learned so far is that it's possible. It's not that hard. It's just a change in mindset, and that's something that I had to teach myself. Going from driving a petrol car is not. You don't just need to turn up to a petrol station and fuel up, and charging is different. And you shouldn't go out of your way to charge. It should become part of your lifestyle, and
Yeah.
that can just happen with time. And if you think it's just try and just give it a bit more time. I would never go back now
Yeah.
to an ice. I enjoy driving electric cars, and again, I don't have a home charger. I've never had a home charger. I only rely on public charging. So I know a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely. It's like I say, the stuff that you're doing is fantastic. So yeah, contact Angela on LinkedIn if you're interested in talking to her about the work she's been doing, and if there's anybody interested. But it's been an absolute joy talking to you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you ever so much for joining me.
No, thank you so much for having me. And, if anybody wants to know more about electric cars, or if anybody's looking to buy an electric car and they don't know where to start, just drop me a message. I'm always happy to support and advise where I can.
And actually, I'm going to say this, if anybody wants help with building their brand, you are the person to come to.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. It was lovely to chat to you.
And I can't say how much I've enjoyed it. It's just been brilliant. So hope everybody else has got as much out of it as I have. So I'm going to say thank you for listening and watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Electric Evolution. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay connected with us. And if you're inspired by our journey towards a sustainable future and want to support our mission on a monthly basis, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Your support really helps us to bring the latest insights and discussions in the world of clean energy, electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging and sustainability to you. If a regular subscription isn't what you're looking for, you can always consider buying us a coffee. Just head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Every cup helps us to keep the electric evolution moving forwards. And if you're curious about our work in the EV infrastructure sector at Full Circle Continuous Improvement, why not visit us at www.fullcircleci.co.uk to find out more. And if you want to send me a message, you can always email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. And finally, please don't forget to share this podcast if it sparked your interest. And let's keep spreading the word about all of these topics that we're covering. So, until next time, see you soon. Bye!